United stand. What are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's transfers ranked from lowest to best? We'll be talking about that. We'll also just be saying a big well done to Bruno Fernandes for winning Premier League Player of the Month in his first season there. Pepe could never, and Arsenal fans will bite on that as usual. But also, we're going to be doing a call-in tonight. We will do the call-in tomorrow night because very interesting, something I'd completely forgotten, is that UEFA meet tomorrow to discuss the landscape of football in relation to the Euros, the Champions League, the Europa League, and domestic league. So rather than doing a call in tonight and us all going, I think this should happen, I think that should happen, I think we'll take your calls tomorrow and we'll do that tomorrow night in light of what's been said there. I've got a theory on that and I do want to talk about that. But first thing I want to do, and this was something I'd been wanting to do for the last few days really, and I think that this enforced change has allowed us to do it, is to rank Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's signings as where we are at the moment. And I do think that this could change next season. We might rank them differently, but you live in the moment, you live in the now. And I'm going to say that there's been 4 signings, because Ighalo is a loan signing. I think we can just, I love Ighalo, you love Ighalo. We can all start going, yeah, Ighalo should be number 1 or number 2. He's not a signing, he's a loan signing. So we're going to look at actual transfers that Ole's made that have impacted on the first team. And there are Dan James, Bruno Fernandes, Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. So how would you rank those 1 to 4 or 4 to 1 as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's signings, and have they been a success? And I would say that at this stage we've not even had any of those signings for a year yet. Some of them have only been there a month, so I wouldn't be saying any of them are a failure. I'm sure at some point maybe 1 or 2 of them may, if we're unlucky, might be looked at that. But to me, out of the 4, in 4th place it's Dan James. And look, that's not, I'm very protective of Dan James, as some people are, and I think that there is a player there. We saw in Dan James those first couple of months that he has a talent that can definitely shine at this level of football, whether it's Premier League football, international football, Europa League football. He can definitely do it. He fell away a bit between November and February. I think we all saw that. But in the last week, especially the Manchester derby, and then again in the Europa League, he showed his quality again. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not perfect. Like, I think the fan base with Solskjaer, it's very extreme. He's either useless or he's brilliant. And what we crave with Solskjaer, and I said this last week, I crave consistency, and Ole craves it. And we need it, because we've had 3 months of brilliant results. Then he got the job. Then we've had nearly a bad year of bad results. And then we've had a great month again. And it's like this with Ole. It's up, down, up, down. And what you want is a steady growth. And hopefully we're going to get that. But I think the naivety and inexperience of Ole did show with Dan James. We bought Dan James for £15 million. We expected him to be a player that would be used sparingly. We definitely knew we were going to see him, but not as a first-team starter. And Ole pretty much played him like a first-team player straight out of the Championship. And I think that exhausted him physically and mentally. And I think that now we're seeing the renaissance of Dan James. And I think next season we'll see the best of Dan James. When he's had a year to adjust to Manchester United, adjust to the Premier League, I think we'll see the best of Dan James and what he's really all about next season. But there's definitely a player there. But I can only put him in at number 4. And as James XX97 says, Dan James has been decent. He definitely has. But he's definitely not been a better signing than Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire or Bruno Fernandes. So I'd put Dan James at number 4. And number 3, and this is where it starts to get very difficult, and number 3 is Harry Maguire for me. So look, we're talking Wan-Bissaka, Bruno or Harry Maguire in the top 3. And it's Harry Maguire at 3 for me. And I think that shows the bar that's been set by these signings. Now, I can't be a hypocrite. I've always said that, a lot of people say with Solskjaer, well, you've got to give him credit for his signings. He's been great at that. But you can give him credit because he's sanctioned the signings, but you can't give him credit that he scouted the signings, because we know that to be false. We know that Harry Maguire was being looked at the season before Ole was even given the job. He was a Mourinho target. We know that United had been scouting Wan-Bissaka before Ole came in. So that's 2. And we know that Bruno Fernandes was a player that was being scouted before Ole came in as well. And Dan James is rumoured to be a suggestion from Ryan Giggs. So I give Ole credit for sanctioning the signings, but I don't give him credit for scouting them, walking in the door and saying, get me this player, get me that player, get me that player. And actually, you know what? We spent a lot of money on, especially the English signings. So they were quite obvious signings, but they've still got to be implemented into the club. And I think that's where credit goes to Ole. And giving Harry Maguire the captaincy, that's Ole. And I think the captaincy with Harry Maguire was somewhat questioned. It was questioned. I questioned it as well. I was like, well, I think Harry Maguire has got leadership capabilities. He wasn't captain at Leicester. He's only been at the club 4 months and we're handing him the captaincy. But I think that was more of a Manchester United issue than a Harry Maguire issue. You shouldn't be coming into the club and getting the captaincy within 4 months. But it happened because it highlighted the lack of leaders in that club, which is something we've been saying for the last few years. So Harry Maguire's come in and I think, around Christmas time he was struggling, but the last 2 months he's been fantastic. And he was never bad anyway. He just maybe wasn't an £80 million defender in his first few months, but he was never bad. I think people tried to say £80 million flop. He was never bad. I can't really think of Harry Maguire having bad periods. I mean, the Chelsea game in the League Cup where Batshuayi, made him look an idiot. But apart from that, I mean, everyone's going to have a bad game. But I think Harry Maguire's got better and better. And at the moment, I think he's playing like a leader and he's playing like one of the best centre-backs in Europe. So Harry Maguire's been a very, very good signing. I just wouldn't have him in the top 3. And number 2 for me is Bruno Fernandes. People will be like, what? Mark Goldbridge has not put Bruno Fernandes number 1? Bruno Fernandes is number 2 for me out of Ollie's 4 signings because 1, he's only been here a month, and 2, I'm not surprised. I think Bruno will be better, and I think Bruno Fernandes will be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's best signing. But I don't think Bruno's been as good as I know he can be. I think a lot of people, oh my God, Player of the Month. He's brilliant, Mark. What are you on about? But this is a player I was talking about a year ago, and a few people were talking about him a year ago. And this is a player that I had a meltdown in the summer over as not signing because I thought we'd missed the boat. I thought we'd sunk the boat. So I knew, and I said before Bruno came in January, I said I expect him to get at least 10 goals and assists combined, and he'll easily do that. And people are like, oh, that's a bit harsh. I said I expect him to hit the ground running. Well, Gary Neville says he won't. You can't have high expectations. I was like, no. I know what this player's about. He's a stat padder in the best possible way. He will come in, he will get goals and assists, and everyone will love him. And that's exactly what happened, which is why I wanted him to come in the summer. But we've got him now. He's been a brilliant signing, but I think there's more to come. I think there's more to come with Bruno Fernandes. I think if you're impressed now, he's going to get even better because he's got the mindset, he's got the ability, and he's got the platform now. And he's going to get better and better. So at the moment, I don't want to over-egg the pudding. He's in at number 2. I think he will be a number 1. But my number 1 is Aaron Wan-Bissaka because Frozen723 says Wan-Bissaka's the man, the myth, the legend. Wan-Bissaka's Player of the Year. And I will keep shouting it as loud as possible because I think he's such a composed, gets on with his job individual that he probably doesn't really get the credit he does. And it was music to my ears when what Jamie Carragher said the other day. And I hope people like Gary Neville, Paul Scholes and people that are respected and Roy Keane do start talking about Wan-Bissaka more, because we always want to talk about the negative of Pogba and Martial and the agendas there, and we want to talk about the homegrown players like the McTominays and the Rashfords, quite rightly. But Wan-Bissaka's Player of the Year. He's Player of the Year. I've never seen consistency like it from the first game in August to where we are now in March, and he's been brilliant. He's very rarely had a bad game. I remember he had a bad 10 minutes against Man City at the Etihad in December, and Sterling turned him inside out a couple of times, and then for the next 80 minutes he put him in his pocket and zipped it up. Just ridiculously consistent, and I've not seen a defender like him consistently like that. I've seen Gary Neville put Ronaldo in his pocket. I've seen him do it to Figo for England as well. But Wan-Bissaka is just an absolute tackle merchant. He's titanium. He's brilliant, and he's definitely Ollie's best signing at this moment in time, as far as I'm concerned. Thanks for all the content, mate, especially the career mode. Happy to contribute to keep the channel going. Looking forward for more to come, says Sean Miller. Thanks for the super chats, actually, for anybody who does that. Really appreciate that. And thanks everybody who's watching the show. Remember, we are live every night at 8 o'clock as per usual. Second episode of That's Football Manchester United Career Mode was this afternoon. So if you've not checked that out, check out Mark Goldbridge. That's Football. Really appreciate that. Who is a transfer target that Ollie himself wants, says Dumies123. I think that's a great question. I love the spontaneity of some of your questions because I think the signing that Ollie that had... If you look at a piece of rock, if you go to Brighton and you buy yourself some Brighton rock, it's basically a big stick of candy. It will say Brighton rock through it, and if you break it, it still says it. I think Erling Haaland was Ollie's stick of rock. It was a Solskjaer signing, exclusive, because he coached him at Mulder and he knows everything about him. That would have been the signing that we went, that's on Ollie. That's on Ollie. And you know, people look at it and go, oh, it's an obvious signing. But yeah, he was scoring goals for Salzburg. Like, now he's gone to Dortmund, everyone's like, it was an obvious signing. But this was very much a Solskjaer signing. He'd nurtured him at Molde as a player. He'd gone to Salzburg. Solskjaer comes to Man United, and that's where they should have reunited. And it didn't happen. He went to Dortmund. But if we'd got Haaland, that would have been the Solskjaer signing, and I'm sure he would have been a success. I mean, look, they're all Solskjaer signings, but what I'm saying is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't walk into the door and go, "There's my list: Bruno Fernandes, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, and Dan James." They were somewhat suggested to him, and then he ticked it off, which is how it should work. But an out-and-out player that the manager goes, "Yeah, that's mine," that would have been Haaland. Mark, let's say we get Bruno in last summer, then who would have assigned captain, Maguire or Bruno, says Manas08. I genuinely think if we'd bought Bruno Fernandes in last summer, and I want to ask you lot, where do you think we would have finished if we'd bought Bruno Fernandes in last summer? And remember, if you haven't been subscribed or watching the United Stand since last summer or earlier, you won't have seen my... And I got a lot of stick for it, but I knew United wanted Bruno Fernandes going into last summer, and they backed out for some stupid reason, and then they went back in January. If we got Bruno Fernandes last summer, where do you think we would have finished? Akash says, a token for this great channel. Will be disappointed if Premier League is nullified. Easy to delete stats, but what about the hard work of the players, emotions of fans, injuries players had by overplaying, managers who's got sacked? Voiding is convenient, but worst option. I'll talk about that in a moment, Akash. So the imposter says we would have been third. Matthew Phillips says fourth. Savage Videos says fourth. Jeffrey Jeff third. King Nargan third. Second, says Future Real. I think there's a few people. Femi David says second, and Sunny Kumar says second. I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, and I'm going to say second as well. I think we would have come second with Bruno Fernandes, and I can spout out a couple of stats for you here. But if you look at the games United have lost, I'm not looking at Man City at the moment because they're in second, but I'm looking at the games that we lost points in. Now, before Bruno came in, I think we'd played 24 league games and we were averaging 1.4 points a game. So that's, 14 points every 10 games. Since Bruno's come in, we've been averaging 2.2 points per game, which every 10 games is 22 points. So 14, 22 points. That's an 8-point difference. So for every 10 points, we would have had 8 points more with Bruno, which you can work out where we would be in the league quite easily. We'd have another 20, 24 points from where we are now, which I think would put us into second. But on top of that, it's the stats that Bruno brings. Bruno gets you a goal or an assist every game statistically, sometimes a little bit more than that. So if you look at Newcastle, where we lost, or you look at Watford where we lost, or Bournemouth where we lost, or Villa at home where we drew, or Everton at home where we drew, or Crystal Palace at home, you stick Bruno, or Burnley at home, and there's more. They're just off the top of my head. They're points we lost. Most of them we lost. Some of them we drew. You stick Bruno Fernandes into those games, we don't lose them. We don't lose them. So I think we would have had a lot more points, and I think we could have been second, because I think Man City have been complacent this season, and we've taken 6 points off Man City. So I think Man United we would have been nowhere near first. We were never winning the league this year. But Bruno Fernandes would have got us comfortably Champions League football, and I think we would have been second, definitely above Leicester, and I think above Man City as well. George Ramos, mark off topic here, but what are your views on clubs wanting the season to be voided? Example, West Ham, Arsenal, Spurs. I just think it's selfish, says George Ramos. Look, Going for Goldbridge is going up at 9 o'clock tonight on my channel, so I'm sort of like doing daily content about the situation of the world we're living in. It's not football related. I take some of your questions or concerns, talk about my day and everything like that. I have quite a strong feeling on where we're heading at the moment anyway, and I think this selfish word of football clubs sort of fits in perfectly with that, doesn't it? Because well, I don't want to give the story away, but I got very, very angry today in the supermarket and in the car park at what I saw from humans, what they were doing. Disgusting, absolutely disgusting. You'll have to watch the video to get the detail. But it left me very angry about the selfish. I was very angry. Remember that little clip from when we were on tour? But so this is just another demonstration of selfishness, because it's got nothing to do with it has, because it's the world we live in. But when teams like Norwich are voting for the season to be voided, you like the boy who goes home with his football. Oh, I'm not in it anymore, so I want it. Norwich are going down. Of course they're going to vote to get the season voided so they can have another season to stay up. Piss off and get out of the league. You weren't good enough. Why should you get a second chance? Bournemouth, Villa, everyone's going to vote for it because there's a chance they're going to go down. So realistically, their vote should be null and void. Spurs are going to vote for to have it again because Mourinho knows full well he's probably not going to get top 4. So he's going to vote to get it voided. All the clubs in mid-table couldn't give a shit, so they'll vote for it. The only people who are going to vote for the season to carry on are the people who've got something to gain. And unfortunately, this is the brilliance of football. You don't hand out 10 winners' medals. You hand out 1. There isn't a top 10 to get in the Champions League. There's a top 4. So already, you're in a situation where the vast majority of a league is probably going to vote to void it because I think they only need 14 teams to do it. And I can see 14 teams voting to void it because it doesn't, what do they care? And that's wrong. I think it should be higher than 14, to be honest with you. Ray Martin says Koulibaly and Sancho would be the 2 key signings this year. We would be unstoppable. We would have quality throughout the whole team. And Riff MU says it's the Glazers' fault we didn't get Bruno. I hate them. Should have bought him in the summer. And describe Manchester United's improvements. Samuel B. And I'll put this to everybody as well. He says, Mark, describe Manchester United's improvement by Bruno Fernandes in one word. I think it's been a sensational improvement. I mean, look, the stats are there. But 1.4 points per game to 2.2 points per game. And it is because of Bruno. And it's not because of Bruno. But it is because of Bruno. Because if we didn't have Bruno, we'd still be doing 1.4 points per game. But putting Bruno in there, it's not just a one-man band. Everybody is better because of him. The midfield in Fred and everybody has somebody to give the ball to who can then create something. Martial has now got somebody who can create chances for him. So it's made everybody better as well as having that individual player. So yeah, I just think he's been a sensational signing. Absolutely. That just reminds me, actually, just before I go on to the next bit, which I think is going to get quite interesting, I just wanted to say that Bruno has won the Player of the Year award today. That's not what I wanted to show you. The Player of the Month award today. And you can get your Bruno t-shirts. You can get your United jumpers. We've got the Adored. We've got the Class of 92 emblem on t-shirts. We've got the green and gold, the 1999 t-shirt. But this is the new one, the Bruno t-shirt. You can get it. Links in the video description. That's what you get on there. The 3 tridents in the middle. Bruno, Portuguese, Magnifico. And it's available in black, burgundy, forest green, grey, navy, and my favourite, the red. So links in the video description if you want to get hold of those. I've got 2 on order myself. Hopefully I'll be able to wear them later in the week when they get delivered. But link in the video description for that if you want to get hold of one of those. That'd be great. And we must get Sancho, says Van Helsing. Well, thanks everyone who's tuning in tonight. Please do smash a like on the video. Right, okay, so we were going to do a call-in tonight, and I was going to take your calls on what you think should happen. Now, we've had where we are in the UK at the moment, because everyone around the world, and I must remember to try and do this throughout the next few weeks so everybody knows, where we are at the moment is that our government is very much moving towards social isolation like other countries have. I think schools will be closed by next week. I think this will be their last week in school. A lot of people being told to work from home. Pubs and clubs and everything, and cinemas and football and amateur football. It's all being stopped. Really trying to limit people coming into contact with each other to limit the growth of this illness, because when you look at China and Italy, obviously that came in a little bit too late and it spread. So that's what we're looking at the moment. Where does this fit into football? Well, we're in the middle of we're at the start of a football ban at the moment that will be assessed at the start of April. The same as Serie A and the same as many other things. So there's a meeting tomorrow with the UEFA to discuss potential options. Now, my feeling with this, and I was thinking about this today, and I think after the initial sort of action, we're going to move into having to get used to this. And I think on Friday when it first happened, a lot of people were like, this is the right thing to do, because it is the right thing to do. But the novelty will wear off very quickly, and we're going to miss something that we love. So how do we get this back? That's my mental state here. How and when do we get this back? Not whether what I'm about to say is right or wrong. How do we get this back? Now, to me, I don't think you void leagues and say, let's just try again in August, because that leaves us as fans and lovers of football to just sit here from middle of March to August. Come on, let's try and get it back. Now, I watch snooker. I like snooker. Call it boring if you like. Snooker is played on a snooker table, funnily enough. They just finished the Gibraltar Open yesterday. Judd Trump, United fan, won that. And they hardly had anybody watching. They're starting another tournament in Wales tomorrow. And the plan for that is just to play it behind closed doors and then have it on the TV. Now, obviously, snooker it's a tournament. I think there's 16 players playing in it. There's a referee and there's the camera people there. But it's an individual sport and they can play it behind closed doors. Football is a team sport. Now, I know what Wayne Rooney said about, when people's lives are at risk, you've got to stop playing football. We felt like we were being treated like guinea pigs. I understand that from what he was saying last week. But you're paid very, very well to be football players. You're not paid to be pundits. That comes afterwards. You're not paid to... you're paid to play football. And you're paid very, very big money to play football. And if you don't want to play football, there's plenty of people who will come and do it. They might not be as good, but they'll come and do it. Nurses will be doing their job on the front line, putting themselves at danger and their families at danger when they go home at night. They're the real heroes here. Footballers are paid to play football. And I think we need to get them back playing football as soon as possible, because these people can be our... heroes isn't the right word, because the heroes are going to be the people, the doctors and the nurses and the emergency services. But these can be our idols. These people can be our light in a world of uncertainty, so that when we are stuck, isolated, we can turn on the telly and watch our idols and go, this is escapism. We need that back. We need that back. And other people need other things back, that if they don't like football. But we need that back. If Coronation Street gets suspended, people will need that back as well, because people love watching that. So we need to get to a point where we can get this back. And my feeling is that we can do that. I think we can do that. We've just got to be open-minded to it. But it's whether football wants to be open-minded to it, and it's whether footballers want to be open-minded to it, because they've got a thing to say as well, and they've got something called the Players Association, and they may just say, we don't want our players to be put at risk, we're not playing any football. So that's the hurdle you've got over. You've got to get over. It's whether footballers actually want to come back and play football, because I think I can envisage a scenario whereby if footballers and will Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's United be training tomorrow? We spoke about that this morning and last night. Will they be training? I don't know. They're meant to be. But if they are training and Premier League clubs are training, could we not get to a situation where we can have behind closed doors football? Because I think we can. I do think we can. I think this would have to be done in a very responsible way. You couldn't have fans in there. You'd have to minimise the contact of people, of course. But I think we could get back to it. But it's the willingness of the clubs and it's the willingness of the players to want to do it that will be the barrier. Mark, off topic, went into a store today and heard this song and I had to laugh. Don't impress me much. Thinking of you and girls in the pub, says Charles B. I don't know whether I told that story on here or not, but yeah. Don't Impress Me Much by Shania Twain. There is a story behind that. It probably wouldn't work on this channel. You need to watch the Mark Goldbridge channel for that. Hi Mark, in this weird time, the Norwegian Man United Supporters Club and the main TV channel showing Champions League games in Norway has gone outside the box. Continues next super chat. Ollie Christian Seber. I don't know what your point is there. Here we go. Tomorrow they will show the second leg of the Champions League semi-final from 1999 with studio experts and lineups, live commentary, and treat it as it was happening real time. Love your content. Stay safe. See, I think that's a great idea, Ollie. I do. I think that's a brilliant idea. So basically, Norwegian TV are showing a Manchester United game from 1999. They're getting pundits in and they're pretending as if it's actually happening. Yeah, it's a good idea. Hello Mark, a small donation, keep up the good work, says Southpaw Love Sports. I mean, look, Drawty was talking to me today and we've got an idea how we can actually show you football matches as watch-alongs that you don't know the outcome of. We have an idea how to do that. It's just whether people are that desperate for football yet. So it's sort of on the back burner to do that, but we can do that. Mark Goldbridge's channel will upload at 9 o'clock. Kean Simpson, it's already recorded. It just needs to go up. So that will be going up at 9 o'clock on the Mark Goldbridge channel. United are the best, says Suzanne Mahmood. And sorry to say, but that's not ideal to talk about football, says Bun Darbu. And hi Mark, could you do a United Stand FIFA League with you and the rest of the people part of the United Stand where you play each other in a league, says Habib Books. We could do that. These are ideas. We could do that. But the problem with it is there actually is no decent way of doing it other than through friendlies, because FIFA doesn't really... FIFA is very much interested in Ultimate Team, isn't it? So it doesn't actually allow for online leagues that you can customise and stuff like that. But no, I would like to do that. It was a good FIFA earlier, Dylan Middleton. I loved it, so you should be checking it out. If you love United and you want a bit of action, it was a really good stream today on That's Football. Imagine the full season of Bruno. The dream. Needs to avoid the red cards, though, says Marcus Jones. Yeah, you need to watch the FIFA career mode. United are the best. FaZe mentioned me. So yeah, look, tomorrow's going to be very interesting with the UEFA meeting up and that. But what concerns me, and I say concerns because it's just my opinion and I know people will have a different one, is that when you've got someone like Wayne Rooney, who's very influential, coming out and saying that, basically didn't want to be playing football last week because of the risks. When we get football back, we're like, we want football back, and I think the Premier League will want football back because of, obviously economical reasons. But how much the footballers want it back, that's the bottom line. How much do they really want to get back playing? Because if they don't really want to get back playing, they'll just say we don't want to do it. And I hope that they do want to get back, because scientifically, everybody is saying that the people at risk are people who are vulnerable, and that's in relation to health conditions and being over 70. Footballers are very, very fit, and I think, look, in the case of Arsenal and Chelsea, they definitely couldn't play for a couple of weeks, could they? And you need to get that under control. You can't kickstart it and then have teams unable to play because of the virus. But I just hope that ASAP we can get back to Premier League football. And I don't even care if it's behind closed doors anymore. I don't care if it's behind closed doors anymore. And quite interestingly, we put this up on the Twitter account of the United Stand earlier, at United Stand MUFC. And the question we put out there, which I will read to you now, was this. Where do you stand on the immediate future of football? And get in the live comments and tell us. Behind closed doors ASAP or void season till August. Now, you'd be surprised by this. We had 7,000 votes. 46% said behind closed doors ASAP. 54% void the season till August. So there's a massive amount of people out there who want to just forget football till August. And that amazes me. Like, are you really football fans? Because I ultimately I'm not that bitter about Liverpool winning a title that I would say I don't want to see United playing football for 5.5 months. I want to see us playing in the next 5 weeks. I want football back. That's what I want. Safely, of course. I don't want people being put at risk, but I want football back. And it surprised me that like 55% were like, nah, let's just write it off till August. Which coach will get the best out of Dan James, Ollie or Giggs, says Rudy Cox. I would say Dan James, Ollie, because he's got more time with him. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Life sucks without sports. I'm watching some show called Love is Blind on Netflix. Laugh my arse off, says Adams Anacola. And Jonas Lanza, said, with the share prices dropping, Glazers might sell to the Saudis. Thoughts? The implications of the wider transfer window will be very, very, very interesting indeed. I don't know how that's going to work. But look, all I can say to you is that we will be live every night at 8 o'clock, because we've always been live at 8 o'clock. That's what we've done for the last few years, so we're not going to stop doing that now. So you're always going to have your daily live content on the United Stand. We're not going to go anywhere with that. So at least we have that daily togetherness and realism in a time where we're being deprived of a lot of those things. As much as I want football again, everything that's going on is much bigger than football. We should postpone as long as it saves lives. If the consequences of that is it's cancelled season, then so be it, says Shaveen. Yeah, but that's just ridiculously common sense, and I applaud you, Shaveen, but that's not what we're actually saying, really. I think people are getting very tetchy at the moment, and some people will say, oh, Mark, can't believe you're talking about this. when people are losing their lives. Well, I'm not. That's exactly what I'm not saying. What I'm saying is I want football back ASAP, safe. If I was saying I want it back this weekend and I want all the fans there, I don't give a shit about the risk. That's not what I'm saying, is it? I'm saying I want it back as soon as possible. The only safe way I see it coming back is behind closed doors. And behind closed doors will only be a risk to the 100 people, probably. There's 100 people that will probably be in a behind closed door game when you think about the coaches, the referees, the camera people. That's it. You don't put the press in there. Will they do it? Will there be an appetite to do it? I don't know. It's unprecedented times. Shahab Ali says you guys just want content. Well, that's not the case, is it? Because there'll be loads of content. There's loads of content. There always is content. I mean, when the summer closes, you talk about transfers, don't you? So there's always going to be something to talk about. There's always something to talk about. But ultimately, I want football back because I've never lived the scariest thing is I've never lived my life without football. Never have I lived my life without football, and now we're being told we've got to do that. And look, if we have to do it, we have to do it, but I would rather get back to behind closed doors football as soon as safely possible than write the season off till August and start. I tell you what, and I'm probably in a minority here, but it makes me feel sick that we might have to just void a season and start again. Norwich have got no right to be in this Premier League. No right. You were going to get relegated. You've got no right to be in it. You shouldn't even get a vote. You shouldn't. I don't care. But maybe you would have stayed up legitimately, but to vote to start it again, I just don't like that attitude. I don't. Hello, Mark. Love the United stand. In this time when we don't have football to watch, I follow you on That's Football, Mark Goldbridge, as well. You have interesting topics about football and life. Keep up the good work, says DJ John T. Thank you. Pogba return equals 2 midfielders, holding midfielders still, says Dom East 123. I think that he will go back to that because he plays 4-2-3-1. So I still think that Pogba will play deeper with Bruno more advanced. Do you think Sancho is the kind of character who would come in and put the team up like Bruno, or is he more likely to throw the toys out of the pram if the team doesn't perform like Pogba? Joe and Daniel, I think that's a really good question. I think with Paul Pogba, you've got a very distinct personality there, bubbly personality. In Bruno Fernandes, you've got a very distinct personality, determined, hard-working, talented player. I'm not saying Pogba's not any of those things, but they're very different. And I think Jadon Sancho will be very different again, because Jadon Sancho is a teenager who wants to go and try and be one of the best players in the world. Jadon Sancho is very, very driven. This is a guy who could have stayed at Manchester City and decided to go to Germany, as a teenager. He's very driven on his career, which is why I've always said, all these people who think Sancho is just going to come to United for the money and the number 7 shirt, it doesn't really fit in with what he's about. I think Jadon Sancho comes to United if we get Champions League football. If he doesn't, I think he's got a decision to make. Would you take David Neves as a right-wing option instead of Sancho if we don't get Champions League football? Also, did you hear the Donny van der Beek rumours? Says Salah Ahmed. This is why you should have watched the video this morning, Salah. I spoke about it this morning. Van der Beek in marker. If Real Madrid pull out, could be an option for Manchester United. I rate Van der Beek. I mean, do check the video this morning. I talk about it in more depth, and I don't want to repeat it because I know some people will have seen it already. I do rate Van der Beek, but I'd probably prefer Grealish, to be honest. Do you think if we continue the season when it's finished, jump straight into the next season and have a long winter break, then play the Euros? Do you think if we continue the season when it's finished, jump straight into the next season and have a long winter break, then play the Euros? Says Liam Brown. You got to think outside the box. You've got to think outside the box. And I think that if we start this season again and I don't think it's coming back in April, by the way. I don't think it's coming back in April. I think the earliest it will come back is May. Behind closed doors. May till... How many games we've got left to play in the Premier League? 9. I think you could do everything you need to do between May and June. So end of June, season ends. No pre-season tour. Give all the players a couple of weeks off, because they're going to have about 2 months off now. So give them a little mini winter break. Get them back training, start a new season, and then start the new season around middle of August, September. You're going to have to come up with some creativity, really, but you're going to have to push that season back. Maybe scrap the... There's a lot of things that can be done. They might have to scrap group stage. I don't know. The things can be done. Like Europa, no replays. No two-legged games in the Champions League and the Europa League next season. You know, there's lots and lots of things can be done. You can play legends. You can't play legendary mode, Mark. Your big fat ego will beat you, mate, says Lee Williams. What? I don't even know what you're talking about because I do play Legendary. Matt's 34, playing FIFA and Football Manager 2 NT while watching the United stand. I love football and can't stand having to wait months potentially. Don't care if they finish the season behind closed doors. If the players and staff are healthy and safe, go for it, says Matt's 34. But what I would say is, look, for anybody hoping that we do get back to football starting soon, I'll say what I've said a few times now. The league that gets back playing first will make a lot of money. Whether it's Serie A or La Liga or the Dutch League or the French League or the Scottish League or the Premier League. If you can get live football back, people are going to watch it. If this weekend, Premier League's not going to come back for 6 months. If this weekend, the Bundesliga came back, I'll watch it. I'll probably do watch-alongs on That's Football because it's football. I think they should try to get games going again as soon as safely possible, but if they can't complete the season, they should just end the season at everyone's current points total. What do you think, says Red Ninja 1226. And Adams and Nicola says, I love our club with all my heart and despise Liverpool, but I bring it football back means Liverpool win the league, then so be it. And talking about what Red Ninja says there, I mean, there is an interesting proposition here that if you said, let's end the season now with the points totals that we are, so Liverpool are the title holders, Norwich are relegated, I guarantee you, Norwich will get their lawyers involved and say, that's not fair. That's not fair because the season's not over and we could have stayed up. But Norwich potentially won't be bothered about voiding the season and starting again because that benefits them. So this is why it's very important to get the season done legitimately so that there can be no replaying of the season and there can be no moaning about current points total. Mark, you were right at first. Opening the transfer market right now might be morally insensitive, but it keeps the hype around going for the next month, says Mark G. Look, that was a hypothetical. I think I'd love to see the transfer market open now because you could use this time to actually do something because football's standing still. So you could use this time to open the transfer markets and everyone can get their business done. But it's a totally flawed logic because the season's not over, of course, but more importantly, financial crisis that we're facing, there won't be any club that wants to do any business. I think if UEFA opened the transfer market tomorrow and Dortmund rang up United and says you can have Jadon Sancho for 90 million, United would say no because they don't know what the value of that 90 million is going to be in 2 months' time. So the transfer market is a hypothetical no anyway. We should void the season. Manchester United will benefit from this as our current squad as it stands can challenge for the season, says Bradley Aranze. But we can challenge for that anyway. You know, if we end this season, we'll still be starting a new season in the autumn. So it makes no difference to void it. If you void it, the new season starts in August. If you don't void it, we can still finish this one and start the season around August as well. So it makes no difference. But also, when we start in August, we could be in the bloody Champions League. So if we start it again, we're back in the Europa. Look, people are very divided on this. I'm not saying I'm right and I'm not saying you're wrong. You can finish the season later, suspend the Euros for a year, and next season cancel the League Cup. That's one thing I do expect to come out, Zed Jamie. I think tomorrow they've surely got to cancel the Euros. Although the rumour is that they don't want to cancel the Euros because there's so much money involved in it that they could. I mean, look, people say let's cancel the Euros, but actually, have you thought about this? If they do void all domestic football and that doesn't come back till August, the Euros could probably go ahead. As stupid as that sounds, because it happens in June. But I don't know. How can United fans want the season to be voided? I personally cannot stand the idea of another season in the Europa League, says I see dead bodies. Yeah, I don't get it either, to be honest with you. But we could talk all night about that. There was a video this morning about the latest transfer news, talking about Igalo, Angel Gomez. But tomorrow's show at 8 o'clock is going to be very interesting because we will be talking about the outcome of what the UEFA meeting is. Flex and Rant show is up tomorrow as well. They fell out today. I couldn't believe it when I was talking to Flex on the phone tonight. He said, the Flex and Rant show, we started talking about the options for the league, and then we started talking about Ollie, basically talking about whether Ollie, if the season got voided, would you sack Ollie to get Poch in? I think you know what Rant said. Flex, obviously, you know what he said, and they actually fell out. So that's going up at 1 o'clock tomorrow, the Flex and Rant show. Looking forward to watching that. Link in the video description if you want to get yourself the Bruno t-shirts. It's available. Link in the video description. Bruno Portuguese Magnifico. Get it in many different colours. The navy's quite nice as well. Is there a green one? Forest green. It's quite nice as well. I like that sort of army colour. Link in the video description for that. Bruno t-shirt. Player of the month this year. This month. Link in the video description for that, as I said. Get yourself one of those. They're selling out. They're selling quite well at the moment. Mark Goldbridge channel. I've got a new video going up at 9 o'clock. Sort of daily life chat about what's going on. A little bit around mental health there, really, because I think this isolation thing, none of us are used to it, and I think we need to discuss and be open about that. So, Mark Goldbridge channel for that. You can check that out. And if you've not seen episode 2 of my Manchester United career mode, I filmed that this afternoon. That's on That's Football as well. So plenty of content for you to watch, and we'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock with Flex and Rant, and I'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock at live. But check out the Mark Goldbridge channel. Check out That's Football if you're into that, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.